Geeks, and welcome to episode 448 of Geeks in Space. I am Rob Commander Taco Malda, and joining me today in pretend low Earth orbit, two of the greatest geeks you're ever going to meet. We got Chris DeBona.
Hi, everybody.
We got a Rob Roseboom.
Hello.
How are you gentlemen doing today? Hands washed? Everybody safe?
Well, I can confirm that we're transmitting well, so
Oh,
I'm going to stop looking up there now.
That's weird. It is weird. Well, you laugh, but I have two copies. Actually, I have three copies of this Hangout on this screen right now because I got the OBS, the actual chat window, and the streaming Chrome window, and it's really hard to keep track, especially because technically speaking, I probably should look at the camera, so I don't look weird. It's as we all intensely look at our cameras now.
Well, it's funny because so I've got the stream and I've got the actual conversation, and then I've got the camera. So I'm like, and it's weird watching everything. It's like 7 or 8 seconds lag.
Yep.
Anyway, so I'm gonna.
Well, all three of the windows that I'm using are on different sets of lag too. It's really nutty.
Okay, I got rid of the monitoring stream. It's fine. Cool. Maybe I'll bring it back when we do our Necro review of Star Trek: The Motionless Picture.
This Thursday night, Star Trek: The Motionless Picture. Thank you for putting your notes in. We have a lot of notes.
Yeah, it's a lot of movies.
Yes, there are a ton of notes.
That's right. Well, let's save the fun for there. There's actually two kind of related stories that I think are worth mentioning right now, but mostly they involve streaming media and movies and how that's affecting the universe. AMC is now getting into a pissing match with Universal because they decided to put Trolls out on streaming where it was originally intended to be in theaters. So AMC, owner of a quarter of the movie theaters in America, has decided that when we're all allowed to go to movie theaters again, they will not be allowing Universal movies, which is like it's a lot of movies
and BS. I mean, I hate to say it. So AMC, I guess they took like an ownership share, went to the Chinese company whose name escapes me, and then this all happened, and so suddenly the company that owns a huge number of movie theaters all over the world is basically just they're going to have to go bankrupt. And they're thrashing out and they're trying to blame because the Trolls movie, that's what caused the problem.
Right. Well, but the Trolls movie was actually an interesting case because it made $100 million in direct sales.
It did. I didn't know that.
Like the first Trolls movie is a charming movie. I didn't watch the second one. But the first one's totally fine. It's not like if you have kids, go ahead, watch Trolls with your kids. You're not going to hate it. The music is charming. I haven't listened to the second soundtrack. There has not been a single off of it that interests me, but it made a ton of money.
Is there a lot of under bridge cannibalism of bridge goers?
What's the line from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia? If you want to, what is it? Something about the boys' hole. You got to pay the trolls toll.
Yeah. Nightman. Their whole Nightman.
The Nightman cometh.
The Nightman cometh. God, that was so sunny. It was very sunny in Philadelphia.
Very.
Yeah.
I watched that show with so much joy.
It's just they're the worst people.
They are,
which is what they're selling. So
well, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia is just this generation of Seinfeld. Seinfeld was the worst people that we could come up with in the 90s. Self-absorbed and just kind of crappy, and then we get It's Always Sunny.
Sunny is very much the self-absorbed for the modern age, right? Sure.
Uh-oh, my keyboard decided to turn off.
What? Oh
no, it'll be all right. I'll get by. I just have to make notes because I have to write the write-up at the end of this episode, man. And if we forget that we talked about It's Sunny in Philadelphia, we won't be able to get that sweet SEO.
Yeah, we'll lose viewers.
Sorry, Jake. Sorry, Elon.
Yeah, you posted 2 hours ago that the Academy, the Motion Pictures Association of Arts and Sciences, have decided that the Oscars can include streaming pictures this year,
Yep.
which is bad news for Bloodshot. It's bad
Yep.
news for
Sorry, Vin.
yeah.
Have you guys seen Bloodshot?
No, I'm still holding out hope for Bloodshot. Yes, I have.
Yep.
It's a very tolerable
It's,
show. Yeah, there was another movie last year, Upgrade. I don't know if you remember
That's a
that.
great movie.
And Bloodshot and Upgrade are sort of like that same. It really continues. Okay. So there's a director named David Twohy. He did Pitch Black. He did a bunch of like really just like workman's science fiction, right?
Mhm.
Like just science fiction for the common man. It's like, and it's just really enjoyable. Not too long. There's no like 3-hour epics. It's just
Right.
hey, we're gonna tell a story. Boom, we're done. Did you get it? Did you enjoy it? And you're like, yeah, that was solid. And like Upgrade and Bloodshot are absolutely those movies. And
I
so
would put.
was Guns Akimbo for that matter. It's just
Oh,
like,
sure.
hey, we're gonna tell you a science fiction story that's really cool and really fun, and it's gonna be over in an hour and a half.
Yeah. Well, I got bored a lot during Bloodshot because it just didn't parts of it didn't parse. Like it just didn't really work. It was fine. The action sequences are fine. The sci-fi thing is fine. But I think Upgrade is a straight up really good movie.
Yeah, it's really good.
Like that rises above what you're describing as sort of the workman science fiction movie and actually tips into like legit good action movie.
Yeah. No, I agree. And but the thing I loved about Upgrade was like, it wasn't the fancy cars or anything. It was the architecture of the building of the rich guy and like
His
just
underground.
well, it's just like wow, they really actually put a lot of work into the locations of this
Yep.
thing, and it was neat. I got to give mad props. Good
There's a
job.
lot of ways. There's a lot of cheap ways to add production value to a movie, and that movie is a good example of they chose one really good set, and that really helped.
It upped it.
For me, the thing that really made it awesome though was I thought the camera work was really great. All the crazy stuff with him falling down and like the camera tracking his tips, and like that's a real showy maneuver for a cameraman to do in a lot of movies. But in a movie like that, it totally makes sense, right? Because the AI is taken over, and that sort of superhuman camera move that's impossible for a real cameraman to do without special gadgetry makes total sense. It's actually cinematography that's adding to the storytelling. It's great.
Yeah, it's a great way to highlight his enhanced abilities without spending a huge amount on special effects.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Did you see the camera they used to do that shot?
No, what were they using? Like a red?
It's sweet. Well, I mean, so they basically just put the camera inside of a circular frame, and then the actor was wearing a phone with a gyroscope in it. And so as he tips over, the gyroscope is connected to the camera, and so the camera knew to rotate with the falling of his body.
Oh, it's they use the Omega AR rig. Wow, this is cool.
You should have one of those, Chris.
Well, I do have a tracking gimbal, that can lock on a face and follow it as you go. So those are actually really super fun. I actually have an old one too that still works great. I'll send it to you.
I'll play with it.
Just a blast. It's like that chicken video where the chicken's like following you as they move the chicken around. Yeah, it's just like it's basically like holding a chicken. It's
I do that all the time.
Yeah. Right.
The thing that I always kind of want to do is I love the shots where they do the dolly shot or the shot that's on the rails and this like slow-mo pass through like that. I'd like to be able to play with that sort of thing, and that's the sort of thing that you could probably actually do with like Lego.
And you can totally do that with a handheld gimbal.
Yeah,
absolutely. So yeah.
I'll do that with my wood shop, like slow pans of me turning wood into smaller, rounder wood.
Yeah. Dude, you laugh, but people would be totally into it,
I know. I watch tons of that stuff on YouTube.
I've heard of YouTube.
I know. Well, so okay. I'm trying to think of any other movies that would be substantially affected, like because the Oscar list before streaming was pretty thin.
Well, so was Emma. So
I
I
mean,
didn't think Emma was the best implementation of Emma, but it was good, you know. Who else? Let's see.
it's still going to be really thin, even with streaming,
Yeah, it's a tricky
though,
year.
right?
Well, okay, so here's my counter to that, and you're probably right, but my counter to that is that usually, so you have 8 or 10 Best Picture nominees, and like last year, I think I had to watch 27 movies,
Oof.
and by watching 27 movies, I watched every single Oscar-nominated film in all of the categories that were English-speaking and not documentaries. Of those 27 movies, I would say 22 of them were probably just fine to watch, on a Netflix streaming service and had, 20, 30, 40 million dollar box offices. They weren't like mega mad bank. They are not affected by this. They can do what Trolls did, go direct to an audience and be just fine. So I guess what I'm saying is that the bottom half of the Oscar categories, and usually the categories that win, are stuff that really doesn't need to be blockbuster in theater sort of level movies. They're not the Fast and the Furious was never going to win an Oscar for best anything except for best visual effects, and so them. But that's absolutely a movie that you want to see in the theater
or on a really big screen with a really loud stereo. So. I don't know. I just worry that theaters are just done. Maybe Endgame was the last blockbuster. I think you said that a couple of weeks ago. Like,
I did.
Maybe that's it, man. Maybe that's it.
I mean, because and that makes sense to a certain degree. I mean, like you look at Star Wars.
No, someone will buy those old theaters and buy the business and do it again. I mean, it's proven to make money. We're just in unusual times right now. So
I'm not sure it makes money though, like real money. Like you'd be better off being a drug front Laser Quest, I don't know. So.
For me, this all goes back
to be fair, you'd be better off in almost all ways if you're talking about just revenue, being a drug dealer of some type. So I mean, that goes without saying.
It's true. But I guess with movies, I think that what we've seen is sort of the same thing that you see in capitalism in every form. Every warring component min-maxes to get the tightest, the maximum profit margin that they can. And you end up with movie theaters that can literally only make money by selling popcorn and soda because the percentages that they're getting from the theaters are from the studios is so thin. And then the movies, the only way that the movies are making money is if they can draw in, a blockbuster level audience. So all that we have in the movie theaters now is the $5 million indie movie and the $200 million blockbuster.
One of which, the same theater, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they are totally making most of their money off of concessions.
Mm-hmm.
Hands down. Stadiums are in the same business. Have you ever looked into how much it is to rent a theater for a private party? It's amazingly cheap.
Yeah, it don't cost nothing.
And getting the movies is amazingly cheap.
Mm-hmm. Provided that you don't want to get like a Disney movie second run, and now Disney owns everything.
Yeah,
they just say no.
You don't get Endgame unless you redo the 20th anniversary edition of Escape from Witch Mountain.
But I mean, I guess if you assume, and I don't think it's unreasonable to assume that ticket counts for 2021 would be half of what they would be in 2020. I mean, I don't think that's an insane fall off. If you're going to do that, the $200 million blockbuster can't make the $1 billion box office return. So the only thing that makes sense is the $5 million, $10 million indie film. And those are now all being produced by Netflix and Amazon Prime Video on Demand, which goes back to what we were talking about in the channel, which is one of those guys is just going to buy one of these theater chains, and you're going to have to use your account to get in, or get 10 coupons a year or something, or half off,
right?
To incentivize.
Just have a membership. have a membership in Disney theaters so you can go and watch all the Disney movies that come out.
You know, I mean, at some point when you're talking about this stuff, you sound like what you're structuring is, okay, so let's have a thing where maybe at home, maybe elsewhere, maybe on your phone, maybe on your projector, you can watch a new movie, you know, and then, you know, you can buy popcorn or whatever. I don't care, you know, and then we could even, you know, we could charge a monthly fee. Let's charge a monthly fee, and maybe we'll screw it. Let's just call it Disney Plus. It's like,
that's right.
You know, at some point, these things are just re-architecting what's already out there.
I do kind of wonder, and I think I've said this before, but I wonder, like, when you make your, you know, your forward-looking statements thing in your earnings report or whatever, you know, a pandemic is one of those things, and like for Disney, they're a great case, right? Between their theme parks and box office attendance, like Bob Iger must be looking like a freaking genius for like 10 years ago, figuring out, oh, like we missed the boat. Whenever he decided that he missed the boat and Netflix was kicking their butt, for turning it around and working to get all those licenses back.
Yeah. No, I mean, if anything, he was seen as being kind of late to the game.
Sure.
You know? But also, you know, think about, you know, Disney 10 years ago, right? It's like they didn't have the Marvel success. They hadn't bought Star Wars yet. They weren't even officially the owner of Pixar. They were just the exclusive distribution partner, right? So
I thought they bought them in like 2005.
Well, they had a big share, but I don't think they had completely absorbed them. Or maybe Lasseter
Cars was the first.
Maybe Lasseter just come over and helped with Tangled, right? So
no, he came over and helped. Before that, his first production credit with Disney was Bolt, which was like 2007. Yeah,
sure.
And Bolt is actually fine for a kids movie.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's 2008. So yeah, but you know, that wasn't that long ago, right? So if anything, once they completed their Star Wars acquisition, they should have just launched Disney Plus at that point. And that's probably actually when they started trying to claw back licenses. Right?
That was the deal. But I mean, it was good fortune for them that they started, you know, that at least far back enough.
Boy, they're really exposed, though. I mean, parks revenue is zero. Yep. You know, it's actually super negative because of the cost of maintaining the personnel in the parks. You know, new movies ain't a thing, so they have to make it all up in streaming and in their content deals with cable companies. I mean, this is a tough time for Disney, and they furloughed 100,000 people or whatever. I mean, it is. You know, they've delayed every Marvel Phase 4 by like a year and a half now. You know, and you know, which is good because Phase 4 is looking really hard to do well. But you know,
Phase 4 was a tough sell to begin with.
Yeah. I mean, it's you know, we're returning to the whole, you know, Blade, Blood God, Blob. You know, it's like, are people really going to identify with these new bad guys, the Eternals, and all the rest?
Yeah, you saw how well everyone responded to the Humans, right? So now we come up with another obscure side group of heroes. Yeah, I don't know.
And the Inhumans, at least from the comic book universe, go back to the early 60s. They're early.
Yeah, I think you can't get too early. Everyone thinks that Batman's, you know, an indicator that you can go back to the golden age and revive him, but I think it's dangerous. Also, I hate to say this. Listen, with the exception of maybe 2 of the mainline actors of the Inhumans, they're not even TV pretty. I mean, look, here's the thing. It's like people want to sort of dodge around this issue. It's like, I mean, you have to have a certain minimum level of charisma, and these actors just don't have it, man. You know, and so some of the Eternals absolutely have charisma, absolutely, but the Eternals actors they've identified. But yeah,
I got to tell you, I liked Lockjaw. I was wondering how campy they were going to make Lockjaw look, but I liked that guy. I like that big old pup. But yeah, everyone else. I mean, part of the problem is your main character can't talk, right? Because if he talks, he'll destroy the world. So that's a really tough sell, right? I mean, people weren't ever really that into mimes, let alone in a superhero movie. So
I mean,
Yeah.
it's in a lot of ways, and Chris, you've spoken extensively about how you don't think that the Fantastic Four will work because having a stretchy dude is bad for film. But I think Medusa hair might also be super weird and hard to stomach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lockjaw is a cool character, but like that's a fun punchline. I mean,
Yeah.
it may end up being like the Hulk was, before they made, a smarter Hulk.
Well, remember they had to go through two actors before they got a Hulk that people actually cared for. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, it took Mark Ruffalo's, to pull it off. But
You
yeah,
know, you should I don't have a terminal up. You should see who did the casting on the first MCU Hulk movie,
one with Ed
the Ed
Norton.
Norton one, and see if it was the same gal who did the casting for the rest of them. Because
Very
I have,
likely.
I have a sneaking suspicion that it was cast differently because it's half owned by Universal or whatever.
Oh, it is. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, are you familiar with the licensing thing with the Hulk? It's just as messed up as Spider-Man.
Yeah, I believe it.
That's why there can't be a solo Hulk movie unless Universal co-produces it in the same way that Spider-Man has to be co-produced with Sony. And
Robin
that's why
Mayfield. Sorry. Keep talking.
I think Allison Jones is the one but she casts everything good. It's one woman and she casts everything. Like basically since The Office, like every comedy you've enjoyed, every Marvel movie, and all the Star Wars movies are all basically cast by her now.
So it was Robin Cook and Larae Mayfield.
Those are not the people.
Yeah, but they have an incredible list of places they've cast. Everything from like, Tales from the Loop, The Expanse, going back to Alphas, of course, Alphas, right? You can see that in the show. Going back to Babar the movie, and then,
Babar.
but Fight Club. Larae did Fight
Again,
Club.
I'm not saying
they are
that
not
I'm
the
not
same
saying that
ones.
she's not as qualified. What I'm saying is that the
Oh, no, I hear
magic
what you're
of the MCU, I think you can attribute it to a handful of people, and I think she might be at the top of in the top 5 for that list because the casting for most of those Marvel movies is great. I wonder how involved she is in the Phase 4 stuff, but
So I'm bringing up Ragnarok, right? So the cast director for that. Oh gosh, hold on one sec. No, I liked when IMDb would just go to the list of people in the damn show, and they didn't have to put all this other crap around it.
Yeah, IMDb's user interface has really fallen off.
Amen.
I mean, it's true of basically every website in the last 5 or 10 years has just ruined its interface in the name of something. Usability, maybe? It's so usable you can't actually find what you wanted anymore.
It's really frustrating, actually. Okay, casting by Thor Ragnarok.
Well, it makes you
Allison
spend more.
Finn.
Makes you spend more time on the
Sarah
page.
Finn. Yeah. Yeah, time on site, man. So we have another one.
Yeah. Sarah Finn.
Yeah, that's the one.
Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Marvel, blah, blah, blah. She did everything in the modern age.
Yeah.
And where did she get her start? Varsity Blues.
Oh, well, there you go. Wasn't
and Polly? I don't know.
Was Captain America in that?
That's a good
Chris
question.
Evans.
I think
Zeke. Let's see. It had Paul Walker, John Boyd.
Oh, Paul Walker. That's right.
Van de Beek. Scat Can. I don't know.
Oh, I think you're thinking. I can't remember.
He was not in it.
All right.
It's Chris Surf's IMDb is brought to you by.
That's right.
Now, all right.
So we had a fictional vehicle size comparison video. I know Rob watched it. Did you watch this, Chris?
I didn't, but those things are catnip for me, like the spaceship size ones.
Yeah.
I love those things.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Rob. What were some of your favorites?
Well, what was strange was I really liked how large the spider tank was in Wild Wild West.
Yeah.
Even though I hate it in the movie and I hate the movie, it was interesting to see how big it was.
My favorite.
and
Okay.
and also they included London from Mortal Engines, which is
Oof,
another
horrible.
movie that, yeah, it's terrible, but there's something about it I kind of wanted to like,
Mm-hmm.
but I just couldn't.
The pumpkin coach looks a little bigger than it should.
I also thought the Batmobile
The
was a little
tumbler,
bit
or
smaller than I imagined it would. Yeah, the tumbler.
yeah.
Every time I see the Tumblr
TT
now,
Bang Bang. Ah!
every time I see the Tumblr, I think that is a really terrible design.
Oh,
Not
horrific.
having a front axle like that, that's just not going to work out well for anyone. Cool in a movie. My favorite
Indeed.
thing that they showed in there, they had Cat Bus from Totoro, uh, which was my favorite. One of my favorite things. Chris, have you ever seen the Ghibli Museum in Tokyo?
No, I bet it's great though.
They have it's really cool. Not particularly accommodating to English-speaking guests. It's very Japanese, but they have in one corner they have the cat bus room, and we went through this whole museum and like, well, we have to go to the cat bus room and see what that is. And there's signs to the effect of like, please be very careful of your children in the cat bus room. And then you walk into the cat bus room. And it is a life-sized cat bus, which is essentially a piece of carpeted play structure. And the children, who by and large are really well behaved in this museum, they are. This is the room where they go feral, and it is basically Kat and I are watching this swarm of tiny Japanese children just like unleashed upon this thing. They're teeming over it like insects crawling through the windows and everything and just screaming. It was so cool.
That's really cool. So I gasped because they have the Crimson Permanent Assurance building from Monty Python.
Yep.
Oh, that's great.
Has to move.
Yes. Oh, I forgot about that. That was great. Yeah.
They had I don't know. That was a charming thing to see. What else do we have on our list for the day?
I adore these things.
Yeah, I'm kind of a sucker for that too. Man, I have let's see, I'm through 4 episodes of Better Call Saul, but I haven't had a chance to watch any of that. We've been watching Schitt's Creek lately.
Is that good? I watched the first couple episodes. I'm like,
It was too miss than hit for me, so I gave up.
I find that a lot of the supporting cast is really, really well performed. I find Eugene Levy and Catherine O'Hara to be a little over the top for it.
Yeah.
But I like the kids, although the kids' names are Steve and Alexis. And I keep thinking, isn't that the Reddit dudes? And
Alex Ohanian and Steve. What's
Huffman. So that was a little weird. Because I don't know a lot of Alexis, I guess. But I mean, I'm okay with it. It's a good. And we were rewatching Community for like the 4th time. It's nice to see something that's not just rewatching a show that I've already seen 6 times.
Yeah, except for Community.
Community's the greatest of shows, but I will literally watch Community anytime. But I have watched it a few times, and like the wife was like, "We could watch Letterkenny again." I'm like, "Honey, we have watched Letterkenny start to finish twice in the last 6 months."
So you're moistly over.
Great thing about
Is that what you're saying?
Allegedly, he's over it.
Allegedly. I want to get that T-shirt. So there's a T-shirt floating around. It's just
I have one.
Picture of an
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
I've worn it on this podcast.
That's great. Oh, it's so funny. Yeah.
So Rob, Chris, how's your CPU? Is it hot?
It is hot. So I have an i9 9900K, not overclocked at all, and the max temp over just today and I've not done a single game, is 85C, which
That's
is
not so bad.
It should top out at 80C with this cooling. Like if you see the reviews, and like the fan should be just like humming right now. It's not. So I checked the fans; they're fine. It's just frustrating. So the mean value is 64, and it's like, dude. So I guess I'll pull the heatsink and re-thermal paste it and see if that helps, because it's just frustrating. I have my Kim wipes. I have my alcohol wipes from Noctua. I've got my thermal paste.
You got to clean it with vanilla Coke.
I loved that video. That was really funny. But yeah, it's a little annoying, to be frank, because it's like, I know that it's within spec mostly, but I mean, I hit 100 degrees yesterday playing Call of Duty Remastered, on 4K settings ultra.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
It's like,
rub it in.
So I don't know what's up, man.
I ordered a 3900X yesterday.
Sweet.
So it begins.
Oh, you'll love it.
I'm looking forward to having a GPU, borrowing Mr. Bates's old GPU, and then I can upgrade slowly and not have to like shell out all the money for an entire gaming rig in one month.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Let's see. I have nothing else on my list. It's time for us to go. Wow.
It's about that time.
All right, folks.
It is.
I'm going to press the goodbye button then. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining me for episode 448 of Geeks in Space. Title is Size Matters, because of the little cars that we looked at. And I'd like to thank Chris DeBona.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And Rob Roseboom.
See you guys later.
I'm Rob Commander Taco Malda. Do all the things that you're supposed to do in order to pretend like you like us on the internet. Bye.